Hi there. Today we're going to unpack Year 7 English Task 1, the advertising campaign, so that we can better understand how that we're going to be assessed and what we need to do, to get the grade that we're aspiring to. If we have a look at the receptive mode, we've got an understanding criteria, understanding and considered explanation of how the choice of language features, images and vocabulary affects meaning. So here we're really looking at the evidence that is to be analysed from the advertisement, and also how the product is appealing to the target audience. So to get an A, it needs to be considered. So that means that the choices are purposeful and the explanation is clear and detailed, explaining how that product is appealing, and it uses evidence to back up the point of view. So to get an A, you really need to make sure that you do all of those things, whereas to get a B, it's just an understanding and explanation of, so the difference being the word considered. It means you're still using evidence, but it's purposeful. You've chosen the best examples for the task in regards to your explanation to get that A. So that's the determining difference there. In regards to the skills of the receptive mode, there's two criteria. The first being the discerning selection of specific details from text to show recognition that texts reflect different viewpoints. Here we're having a look at your choice of examples from the advertisement. So we want you to make sure that you're using the best examples of evidence to justify. And the difference between an A and a B is the discerning versus effective. So discerning meaning showing good judgment and making thoughtful choices, where effective means that it capably meets the described requirements. C is a selection of, which means that you've used evidence. It may not be the best examples, but it is present and there's some element of analysis that's occurring. The second skills criteria is a discerning use of personal knowledge, textual analysis and other sources to express or challenge a point of view. So here we're looking at the tone of the written justification. It should use persuasive language to prove appeal to the target audience and argue the inclusion of Willy Wonka's company using evidence from the advertisement. So students have been explicitly taught the skill of argue, and I would encourage them to use the resources from class to assist them in constructing those sentences there. We move into the productive mode. There's again two different criteria. Understanding, first being discerning creation of text, showing how language features and images from other texts can be combined for effect. So here we're explicitly looking at the advertisement construction. That's the aesthetics, how it's put together, the color scheme, and also the devices that have been used. So have a look back to steps to success number 3, and it explains the choice of devices that students have to use and the requirement for inclusion in their advertisement construction. In the productive mode, we're looking at 4 things. This is really the skills that students need to use. So discerning use of coherent text structures and a range of purposes for audience. This is our written justification, looking at our teal structure. So topic, elaboration, evidence, and link. Where use of connectives that are suitable to purpose and to create cohesion. Again, students have had exposure to the use of connectives suitable to purpose. Ask them to grab out their Blue Book handout, which is on their Freya model handout from their explicit thinking lesson. The next criteria is all about understanding and discerning use of grammar when creating and editing texts. So here we're talking about grammar in regards to sentence structure in both the written justification and the advertisement. So we need to make sure that it is word perfect across both mediums, both parts of the assessment. Discerning use of a variety of more specialized vocabulary when creating and editing text. So again, that's in both the written justification and advertisement. The word choice is purposeful, it's varied. It meets the modality of the task, so the degree of certainty, and also has an appropriate tone for the intended audience as well. And lastly, we're looking at consistent use of accurate spelling and purposeful use of punctuation when creating and editing texts. Again, this is both in the written justification and advertisement. Purposeful meaning that it's intentional and focused, and there's a use of the correct punctuation mark for purpose. So if you've got a choice of using a semicolon or a comma, we're hoping that students are moving towards the high-end punctuation to get up in that A range for a consistent use of accurate spelling and purposeful use of punctuation. Hopefully that unpacks the task for you so you understand what you need to do to achieve the best results. If you have any questions, please ask your classroom teacher.